Hey Kaiju fans, so today we'll be doing a book review, and I think I'm going to split it up into two sections because there's quite a bit of content here. But this is a book I bought around 1991 or 1992, so I would have been, let's call it 6 or 7 years old. Got it at a Japanese bookstore, and it's basically the complete guide for Godzilla up until that point. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. And obviously, if you do like our content, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, and head on over to our website, kaijukingdomcollectibles.com. Alright, and since I do not read Japanese, I'm going to have to use Google Translate to help guide some of the information shared. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so as we open up the book here, the first section is all color, so there's some really cool images from, I think, 91 Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. This next one is kind of a image from Godzilla versus Mothra in the mid-60s. Here's another one. I think this might have been the Monster Zero. It's a little bit of a composite because I don't think this scene actually appeared in the movie, but nevertheless, I think it's a pretty cool model. And yeah, this is the Monster Zero when they're kind of duking it out on Planet X, if I remember correctly. And then finally there is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, another really cool image. And then we kind of get into the more black and white section, which is here. Okay, so the first section kind of goes over the history of the movies and sort of even some history about the biology of Godzilla, which I think is kind of interesting. I think for the purposes of this, I'll kind of skip over that. But anyway, I'll thumb through this real fast here. Okay, so I want to kind of highlight this. So for almost every Godzilla friend and foe, there's a kind of anatomy cross-section, which I think is really cool with this book. It actually kind of shows you his musculature, his bones, his brain, his internal organs, things like that. So yeah, kind of a cool representation. I don't think a lot of media out there sort of gets into his biology and things like that, but I thought this was a pretty cool illustration when I was young. Okay, and moving on to the next section, this is actually a really cool comic. It kind of goes over the first movie, and, you know, without being able to read the Japanese, and if you can read it, that's even better, but it looks like Godzilla and his family are kind of chilling underwater, minding their own business, and then it looks like there was some catastrophic event, and I would assume with the source material, probably was that hydrogen bomb off of in the South Pacific dropped by the Americans that awakened him, and then he kind of goes on his path of not only scaring those on that remote island, the villagers, and terrorizing them, but then he goes after some shipping vessels here, and then finally makes his way to the city. So, I mean, I would say all of this is very well illustrated, and I remember being a young person and being captivated by it, just because I watched the movie but hadn't really seen a comic representation of it. Okay, and on this page here, you kind of just see Godzilla trying to break through the electrical towers that are put up by the army and government to protect the Japanese people. Obviously, he blows right through it, and then on this page here, I think you get into Dr. Sarasawa's sort of backstory and being this prolific scientist, but then once he is recruited to kind of use the oxygen destroyer, he has to eliminate all remnants of his work because he doesn't want the idea to fall into the wrong hands, knowing that there's a lot of destruction involved with it. And then as we flip over to this last page here, this is kind of the final scene in the movie. He, with the oxygen destroyer, goes down into the ocean floor where Godzilla is resting. He releases the oxygen destroyer, and obviously you see the Godzilla's bones, and he's obviously killed. And there's also a small image here where he's cutting the line to his air source, and therefore succumbs in the last scene. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of a little bit more dark than I imagined when I was as a kid, because when you watch the movie, it's kind of black and white, but there's a little more of intensity here with this comic. And I remember looking at it and being like, wow, it's very tragic, and there's definitely death that's involved in at least in that first movie. Okay, and jumping ahead a little bit here, this is another one of my favorite pages here, but this essentially documents all the Godzilla friends and foes, and basically gives their name and maybe even a relative size. I guess maybe it's not necessarily perfectly sized, but it's kind of the entire Toho Kaiju family, which I think is really cool. So I do enjoy the drawings and everything. Okay, and jumping ahead here, this is from King Kong versus Godzilla, and you'll remember in the first part of the movie, the giant octopus is climbing all over King Kong's head and trying to essentially strangle him. And I always like this little drawing of King Kong struggling with that octopus, and it just it brought back a lot of good memories. Okay, guys, well, that's probably the first half of the book here. I will be making another video just to continue, because it's a little bit long. But yeah, until next time, take care.